3 days later, he had an auction team come to our house and sell everything. Kitchens, my bed, my Xbox, everything I had, my toys I had in the backyard. And that was a huge realization moment for me and a super low moment in my life because I just realized I owned nothing. When that auction company came through and sold everything, it's like I've been working 40 hours a week now for 5 years at that point, and the only thing I had to my name was basically my paintball bag, right? So I didn't really own anything. My parents decided to move down to Florida.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Revenue Playbook Chronicles. And I'm your host, Gene Lytle. And today we have a special guest, Kyle Berry. He is the CEO and founder of Kaizen Marketing Agency. He is also a professional paintballer for the San Diego Dynasty. He has been a growth expert over the last decade and has produced over $100 million in profitable revenue across 50 different industries. Kyle, welcome. How are you doing and where are you calling from today?
Thanks, Gene. Super excited to be here. I am actually in Griffin, Georgia, a little town just south of...
Griffin, Georgia. I have never actually been to Georgia. So how's the weather out there? Is that kind of a muggy state or...
It's better than Florida, I'll tell you that. I spent the decade before this in Florida, and you do not get hotter or muggier than what it is in Florida. Georgia is beautiful. I did not expect it to be beautiful when I moved here last year, but I mean, absolutely gorgeous. Nice crisp mornings, nice hot afternoons. My wife's got a little homestead she's building in the backyard, and everything's growing for her, so she's loving it. I'm loving it. It's actually way better than I ever expected.
Very nice. So you moved there last year. Where did you move from?
I came from the Tampa area. So I was living in Florida for roughly about a decade. I moved initially, I lived and was born and raised in upstate New York, up in the mountains, and then moved to Florida to pursue a professional paintball career down in Florida. And that's when the marketing door opened for me down in Florida. So I stayed there and built not only my business, but my network, my people in the Tampa area, everywhere from like Cape Coral to Tampa. That whole west coast of Florida was where really my domain for the last 10 years before this. But then I had a baby little girl named Harper, and growing up, raising a girl in a Tampa area is really not the ideal place to raise a kid. So that's when we decided to move into Georgia.
Very nice. Very nice. Now, this goes way back before you, but back until I was about 9, I think I had my 9th birthday on the way to California, but I lived in Tampa and on Tampa Street. I mean, went to Broward Elementary School and back in the day. So just so you know, Tampa wasn't built around your time. It lasted way, way, way back when.
Yeah, it's a crazy town now. It's like all the partier people from the East Coast is moving West Coast and trying to go to Tampa. So we loved it at first, but it just got a little too heavy. I mean, I loved it when I was, mid-20s. It was a blast to be there. But, as I got a little bit older and I focused more on the kids, it's just, I want a place for my daughter to run around the backyard. I don't have to worry about anything else happening,
Yeah. Is it party town now?
Tampa? Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's definitely blowing up both in business and in infrastructure. I mean, the St. Pete area has become a hot spot for high wealth and a lot of excitement. And then Tampa itself, I mean, they built a whole new, basically southern district where it's just a bunch of bars, a bunch of clubs, a bunch of fun nightlife. And it is, my opinion, the best city in the state of Florida. Like, I love Tampa. I think it's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
It wasn't happening when I left. So they waited after I left before they started happening. So let's kind of get to it a little bit here, Kyle. What I'm looking for is I'd like to kind of learn your journey, kind of from where you started, how things have worked, any kind of pivots, maybe if there's things that happened in the meantime that made you have some concerns, whether you wanted to keep going or not, or if it was just you went straight rising to power or what, and bring it to right up today's market, and then we can kind of talk about today's market after that. How's that sound?
Love it. Yeah, and for the listeners out there, this is not a story of an immediate rise to power. This is a story that if you are currently sitting in a position where you think you cannot find any success, or you've been burnt, or you've been you've been knocked off your pedestal and you can't find a way forward, I think the story will resonate with you. I started super, super young working. My father owned a restaurant when I was a kid, and he was an incredible cook, but he was not a very good businessman. So he brought me in the kitchen when I started working for him when I was 8 years old. Started working on the cash register and things of that nature. And then by the time I was 11, I was working in the back of the kitchen cooking. By the time I was 12, I was doing 40 hours a week. And I don't think I've ever done less than 40 hours a week since I was 12 years old. I progressed through my dad's kitchen. I eventually became head chef in the kitchen. And it was just a small little town in upstate New York, come from a place called Waynesburg, which is hard to find even on a map. So it's a little town. We were developing and progressing, but financials and everything wasn't really suited for the type of business that we had. So my father went and got a second job. My mom and I ran the whole business, and that's when I really learned business operations. After that, the '08 crash hit us, and it kind of destroyed not only the valuation we have in our property, but the business as a whole. And then a year after that, major competitors came into our small town. I took up a huge market share of the business. So we were left in a very difficult position. My father actually gave the business to me. He let me rent it out for him and rebrand it as a delivery company. And that was my first go at being an entrepreneur. I did not know what I was doing. I just knew how to cook food, and the operations behind it, I was extraordinarily lackluster. If I could go back today, I'd do so many things different. But I ran that for roughly about a year as I went to college for engineering. And then my dad came home one day and said, we're leaving the business. We built our house on top of the business. So we're leaving all of it. We're leaving the house, we're leaving the business, we're leaving all that. And I've heard that spiel before. So I was like, okay, Dad, whatever. 3 days later, he had an auction team come to our house and sell everything, right? Wow. Sell our kitchens, my bed, everything I had, my toys I had in the backyard. And that was a huge realization moment for me and a super low moment in my life, because I just realized I owned nothing. Right? When that auction company came through and sold everything, it's like I've been working 40 hours a week now for 5 years at that point. And the only thing I had to my name was basically my paintball bag. Right. So I didn't really own anything. My parents decided to move down to Florida. So they moved down to Southern Florida to start their lives completely over. And I didn't really give up on my life in New York for another year or two until an opportunity to play professional paintball came down and gave me an opportunity in Florida. So I moved down to Florida, and I did the same thing I did in New York. I started cooking again. I found a mentor that was a financial advisor who was extraordinary to me. His name was Chris McFarland, and really took me under his wing when he shouldn't have. I had no room being there, and gave me the prudence that I needed to understand what it really meant to make money, what it really meant to be valuable in this world. So he saw the gift in me, and he opened the door for a sales job in marketing. So I went into Valpak, which is a direct mail company, nationwide direct mail company. I was the youngest employee in Valpak in the whole state of Florida. And I was selling door-to-door direct mail, but I was doing it business to business. So you're knocking in Florida heat, your suit and tie, and you're knocking business to business in strip malls and restaurants and everything in between, trying to sell them on a direct mail process. And I didn't understand as a 20.
Way to go.
It was a good learning lesson. And I sucked at it. I was so bad. Coming from a kitchen, your vocabulary and the way you talk to people was, get this done or I'm going to step on the back of your head to do it, right? That was just the way it worked and the way my dad raised me, right? So when I came into communication within sales, I swore way too much. I used my hands. I would vomit on them a bunch of information and not know how to communicate correctly. I broke out in hives. I was so stressed trying to figure out this whole sales thing. Some recommendations for reading if you're getting into sales or trying to get into the world of marketing. I read the Little Red Book of Sales, and I thought that was very salesy. I thought that wasn't right. So I dove into different psychological books and spin selling. I highly recommend, if you are a young person out there trying to do sales, or you're a young entrepreneur that's trying to understand how to position yourself in conversation, Spin Selling is one of the best books that will help you understand how to articulate correctly within a conversation to make it flow the way that you want it to, and ultimately achieve your end goal of getting the sale or convincing the consumer of something. So Spin Selling changed the way I worked. My first year, I think I had a $20,000 salary plus commission, and I made $40,000. My second year, I did $140,000. I was the number one sales rep in South Florida.
Good job.
So I turned it around. I definitely turned it around. So I was selling, and I was looking at what I was doing. And at this time, Valpak was teaching me headlines and the structure of creative and how to write copy correctly and how offers influence actual marketing and sales and revenue to a business. What they falsified was their opening rates, their return rates, their overall engagement rates. And these are things that I'm promising people out of my mouth and talking to these business owners saying this product does this, and I found it to be false. So it was 2016, I dove into Facebook ads. I decided that there has to be a better way of doing this, and I dove into Facebook ads. And my path is a little bit different than most, where most people come into doing advertising and they want to understand the creative and they want to understand how the platform works. They want to understand that. I wanted to understand attribution. I wanted to understand tracking. I wanted to understand, how do I actually see the money that I make for people? That's what I cared about. I wanted profitable return on advertising. In 2016, and what most people didn't know at that time, was completely capable. The platform itself could tell you exactly what kind of success you were having if you set them up correctly. So from the get-go, I cared about tracking and attribution and implementing that into my advertising, and it separated me from about 85% of the Facebook media buyers during that time. So I started with Facebook ads. I was doing this while I was working out Valpak. I found some success, and then I had a few of the clients that I was working with in Valpak want to pull me out of that company because of all the things that were happening, and they actually gave me an opportunity to be a CMO. So I became a CMO for a pool cleaning company. I became a CMO for after that, a roofing company. I had another one where I was a restaurant, and I'm in-house looking at operations. I'm looking at their costs. At this point, I'm like 23, 24 years old, acting as a fractional CMO. And I really learned that I needed to understand a lot more of the operations of business, not just the front-facing presentation of the marketing, to really be able to be profitable for clients. And that put me down a path of really understanding business operations. But then it came to a point where in those jobs as a CMO, I would have to meet with marketing agencies. And I'd have to have one-on-one conversations with marketing agencies. And I'm 23 years old talking to a 30, 40-year-old sales rep, and I have a clear understanding of how profit is being generated for businesses. Right. Not just, a creative and putting meta ads out there, or doing a PPC Google search campaign and with the clicks I don't care about clicks. I care about the money that it makes. Explain to me how you process money. And at that time, being 23, 24 years old and studying attribution, I had an upper hand on 90% of the agencies that I was meeting with that were charging $10,000, $15,000 a month for their service. And I wasn't making that much as the CMO of the company. So I created a mission right there and then of, I want to start a marketing agency to be able to create an ethical system that it gets implemented into a business that gives them ownership and gives them clarity of actually how to grow their company. So it was 2017, I started my marketing agency, what at that time was called KB Social Media and Online Advertising. Now, I hit a pretty low when the auction came through and sold everything that I owned in the house, but I can't tell you the highs and lows I had for my first 3 years in business, right? I would go from being this whiz kid that I had this Rolodex of people that I had from sales. So I was going and reaching back out to them and following up and doing sales. The same thing I've been for 2 years at Valpak, but just for me. And I did incredibly well. I got the business up to $30,000 in monthly revenue. And it felt great. It felt awesome. I'm able to eat well. I'm able to live. I'm buying myself clothes. I never got a fancy car or anything like that, but I was able to really find financial freedom for the first time for roughly about 2 weeks. That was about all I had. And then after those 2 weeks, you realize that you've invoiced these people, you're doing the service and the work, but now they need customer support. Now they need immediate changes. Now there's fires that are happening. Now that they want to expand to new services because you're doing a good job. You're doing all these things that ask more of you. And our bandwidth as human beings is just one mouth and two hands. It's all I have. So I figured now was my time to learn how to train people. And this is really where the volatility came in. So the first thing I did was spend a lot of money to bring in A-level employees that was supposed to come in and take my operations, which were horrible. That's how I didn't understand how to put together operations. Put my operations into play. They brought me from, I was at $30,000 a month in revenue with about $4,000 in cost prior to them. I brought that company in and a group of employees. It brought me up to $15,000 in revenue. And within 60 days, they dropped, $15,000 in monthly costs. And within 60 days, they dropped my monthly revenue down to $8,000 a month. Because they did horrible work. They didn't have the right structure. Right. And at that point, I lost a major chunk of my business. I had to cut that whole team. And now I'm down to $8,000 a month. It's still roughly around $4,000 in expenses. So I'm back on ramen, right? I'm really not eating much at that time. I'm not buying anything nice for myself. And then I start rebuilding the book again. This is about 2018. I start rebuilding my book of business and I start bringing clients in, but I start doing it in a little bit more particular way. I start building my operations. I start making SOPs and documenting how I'm actually doing things and putting this into an organized system. And then 2019 comes around. I'm roughly doing around $20,000 to $30,000 a month. I'm living comfortably, but I'm stressed. I don't have any free time. I'd be at a paintball tournament playing professional paintball, and I'd be fully geared up, sitting in my car with the camera off, taking meetings, hop off, close the laptop, run and jump on the field. And
Wow.
it was not efficient whatsoever. At that same time, my entire life, I have truly embodied the concept of Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy that means 1% improvement every single day in both business and itself. I embody this concept because I suck at everything that I start with. I don't know why, but when I start something new, it takes me a little bit to really get rocking and rolling, but I care about getting it right and developing the right way. So I felt during that time, I'm running the agency, I'm getting awesome results from my clients, things are working well, but I'm missing something. There's something that I don't know. So I kept on pulling separate jobs. I'd have other jobs while I was running my company. One job was and for entrepreneurs out there, if you're just getting started off, I do highly recommend this. I highly recommend this. There's enough time in your day to have your company running. If you're not doing over $50,000 a month in revenue, having your company running and having a secondary job. Why do I recommend a secondary job? They have operations in place. They can tell you how they are successful. They can show you the systems, the tools that are needed to be. This is the prudence. This is understanding how to make the right decision only comes from us understanding how the people did it right previous to us. So working for these other agencies, and you should have the repertoire and the resume to be able to get the job pretty easy. Just don't destroy your reputation by half-assing the job. Excuse my language, right? So you take the job, you give it 100% when you do it, and you're pulling information of how they operate, how they function, and things that they do. And I got an incredible job as a performance marketer with a influencer company. After that, I got an incredible job with the largest CBD advertiser in the world to understand compliance around special categories and paid media. And then after that, I then really dove into my company. And I said, I'm going to take all this learning and bring it into Kaizen, right? 2020 comes around and I found my first partner. Well, this was the most incredible hire that I've ever made. His name's Santi Lozano. He came in as a COO of my company, so an operations expert. I was the dreamer. He was the one that put it into operations and structures. That single hire has completely changed my trajectory in business, my trajectory in life. I could not be where I am today without Santi.
Wow.
Santi basically, and this is for all the entrepreneurs out there that are like, you don't want to give up equity to your business. I gave up a massive section of equity in my company for knowledge, for freedom, and for a 20x return in the growth of my company. So do not think that you can do it all. If you're listening to this and you're saying, yeah, that sounds all great, but now you found a partner, you needed help. I gave up a lot for that partner. I gave up a lot of money out of my pocket and trusting that person was going to help me grow the business to what I believe it could be. And it paid out tenfold. He came in and redeveloped operations, and really in 2020, we rebranded to Kaizen. We went from KB social media and online advertising. I brought in a partner. I rebranded as Kaizen. At that moment, we were really a Facebook advertising based agency. We were doing everything. We were helping clients with CRO. We were helping clients with email. We were helping clients developing CRM structures. And I did all this in my fractional CMO positionings, as well as when I went to these other companies, I'd be really a full growth marketer, which a growth marketer means they're touching every aspect in your business that has to do with customer acquisition, customer retention, and increase of lifetime value. That's the focus, right? So when Santi came in, we started really honing in on our hiring process, finalizing our SOPs and documentations, and then making sure we had clear offerings for our business, the tiers that they're in, the process that they go through. That was 2020. In 2020, I believe that year, at the end of the year, we did just under $200,000. So $200,000 in total revenue with roughly around 50% COGS, right? 50% COGS in operation. So, at two young kids, we brought home $50,000 each, right? Following year, so that was 2020. I think it was 2021, apologies. We've doubled every single year. So last year we did 1.4 million in total revenue. This year we're pacing roughly for about 2.6 million in total revenue. It's a nice, cool number. It's with great money comes great responsibility. I believe
Right.
that saying goes hand in hand. So it's nice. The development has been good, but there's been massive turning points throughout the company, and those turning points really are dependent on the vision and the foresight that Santi, myself, and in 2024 we actually acquired another business that was an organic social media company out of Texas. A close friend of mine named Ryan Brand ran a company for about a decade. We brought him in as a third party to expand our service line and also get additional support as a C-suite team. And with the three of us working together on a clear vision of the future, the growth is very, very, I wouldn't say easy, but it's understood. We know what we have to do to the numbers that we want to get. We know how much money we have to pay in our paid ads, how many sales calls we have to do, what parts of our business we need to develop, where we expand from here, what we do with AI and the craziness that's happening there as a jointed unit. And again, this is for people that don't want to give equity away to a partner. Having a polling conversation with someone that you have immense respect for and your money, both of your monies are on the line in that conversation is one of the most powerful things you can have. And for the three of us, the way that we work, it really is I'm the dreamer and I dream about capabilities is basically the pessimist or the reverse psychology of that, of what could go wrong. And then Santi is the operations person of this is how it actually would be embedded into the system, into the business. And that three-way conversation creates so much good talk and opportunity for growth. So yeah, today, Kaizen Marketing Agency is roughly about 37 employees strong. We'll do about 2.5 million this year. We have about 115 clients spread across 50 different verticals right now. And we are doing incredible. We are doing what we promised since the very beginning, which is giving clients 100% ownership of their data, their business, and their potential for growth. We are profitable with our advertising returns. And when we say profit, we bring in your marketing expense, your management fee, your COGS, your operating expenses, and then see the revenue that we generate on the back end and ensure that's more. And then finally, we care. We care about the clients to a point where we are the ones having the open conversations in Slack or in email, whatever it might be, when things aren't going right. And we know we're giving our damnedest too, but there's a reason 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. And most of the times it's either operations or marketing. It's about 80% operations. So we care about giving back to the clients and helping them grow. And all of our clients, I recently had a client where we had built their own internal marketing team for them after 2 years of working with them and stepped away. And the heartfelt messages I get on the back end of that, of how happy people are working with us over a long period of time, is why I built this business in the first place. So that's kind of where we stand today.
That sounds amazing. Obviously, it wasn't like you said, it wasn't like instant success. How long did it take you before the revenue was predictable? How long did that take?
Last year, the revenue became predictable. Your revenue is not going to be predictable until you have a consistent influx and you have enough data in your business, one, to understand your churn rate, right? How, like, basic stuff that comes in and with the first sale, which is your average ticket order, how much you're actually going to sell for, your COGS and operating expenses, aka being able to actually get your profit per client, per service, per job, whatever it might is. But then the things that you can't account for in that first sale is the lifetime value of the customer. Are they going to refer anybody? Are they going to purchase again? And what are their total revenue they can bring in within 12 months? And then your turnover rate, right? So if you have a membership program like we do, we have a monthly membership to be part of Kaizen. It's just a monthly service fee. What is our churn rate? We are happily saying that our churn rate right now is not, our churn rate is 8%. We have a 92% retention rate, which is what we hold our hat on, right? We don't lose clients, and we hold month-to-month contracts, and we don't lose clients just because we do what we say we're going to do when it comes to the sense of revenue generation. But that is the one side of the coin of operating expenses, average ticket order, lifetime value. That's one side. The other side is the acquisition of customers. If you don't have a predictable acquisition channel or an acquisition funnel, you'll never be able to predict growth rate. Ours is a little funny. We have our own paid that we put out there to bring in clients, but we also are white labeled by many other agencies, aka there's other agencies right now that sell our service to business owners, and we do the service for them and they just operate the client. And then we have a referral program with multiple different companies that do services that we don't do, such as SEO or say affiliate networks, or if they work with a specific category of business and get a lead that's not that category, they send it over to us. That stuff is very hard to quantify on a consistent growth basis because it's inconsistent. What's very easy is the paid media. Like when we run our own paid ads, I know for a fact I get $145 cost per booked appointment. I convert roughly 30% of those. So my cost per customer acquisition is roughly about $550. That's what it costs me to acquire a customer. Average ticket order from our customer is about $1,700. My COGS are roughly around 50%. So I'm profitable at new customer acquisition, and the lifetime return rate of the lifetime value of my customer is roughly 8.5 to 9 months. So I can now have the data points to say, okay, well, if it costs me X to get a customer, and this is the revenue they're going to bring in, I can just spend more and get more customers. And that's the beauty of paid media, right? If this was through organic or any other form where I couldn't pump something more dollars into it to get a higher return consistently, then that quantifiable ability of saying what our growth trajectory is wouldn't be there. But since we focus off that paid media, we're able to understand it. And then any referrals and anything like that comes in, that's just a boost.
Right. It's definitely, your numbers, and I feel like that's key. At what point was it last year when you finally came up with those numbers, or did you know numbers beforehand? Or
we knew the numbers pretty well in the sense of the back end, the average ticket order, the lifetime of the customer, the retention rate, that stuff we knew because we've been keeping track of that since the very beginning. It was actually the customer acquisition side, the sales side, that we didn't have a lock on. We were growing very organically, so we couldn't predict the actual success rate of the company. And when you're growing organically, it feels great because your cost is super, super low and there's no problems. But in my opinion, it's one of the scariest things ever, because what happens is that say you bring in a client, okay, let's use a basic, I'm looking at my lawn now, lawn service business. You bring in you're a lawn service business, you go into a cul-de-sac, you close one of the houses. That one house loved you. You did amazingly well. And then they refer their neighbor, and then their neighbor, and then their neighbor, and then their neighbor. And that one referral channel organically just got you an immense amount of business. The concern I have about that is that they're all based around a single trust point. You did great for John Smith, who recommended you. If you mess up John Smith's lawn one time, right? One time, he'll never recommend you again. That race is over. And even worse, you mess up one of the lawns that John recommended, and that person goes back to John and goes, why the heck did you recommend this guy? He messed up my lawn. You just lost not only probably that entire cul-de-sac book of business, but now you have a negative word of mouth going across you, right? So that back end operations take a huge play in organic. That's a scary example of that's the way that you're growing, because it's just not predictable, right? And there's many factors that can really hurt you. But the predictability of paid media is where it really comes in. So once we started running paid advertising about a year ago, that's when we really, and on top of that, I was very good at the operations of the training and organizing my team and getting things done. I wasn't the best at my financial numbers in the back end. And I went through a whole crash course at the beginning of 2025 of diving into every data point of my business, from COGS, operating expenses, every granular detail, creating a zero account, going through each individual invoice and cost that went through my business to understand exactly where my numbers lied, which gave a little more clarity on profit margins in the actual sales process. So that combined with the paid media is what gave clarity for projections going forward.
Perfect. So, what if that journey fascinates me, and then all this whole time you're competing on your professional paintball? Did you have to put some of that aside for a while, or did you continue through that? How did that look?
So no, I never. I designed this life to do exactly that. It's a lot of work. Working out on myself, working on the paintball field, working on the computer. It's not a lot of sleep. It's a lot of thankless nights and a lot of really, really sore mornings combined together. But no, I never really slowed down. A lot of this all comes from the motivation of paintball. I have this lofty goal where, like, when I went down to Florida, I went professional when I moved to Florida, right? I was still working for Valpak. I went pro in paintball. And I realized when I went pro, it was a dream that I had for 15 years that I was fighting for. I had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Every dollar I made from working those 40 hours a week as a kid to the time I was 24 25, I was putting it back into paintball, into travel, into the equipment, into the playing, into getting better. And then when I went pro, it was like extraordinarily lackluster. And from the professional positioning side, from the actually event itself to how the pros were treated, I expected it to be a lot more. And a spark lit in me that day that I am going to be the Dana White of paintball. I want to come in and purchase the professional industry and make it into a national recognized sport that everyone is proud of and wants to watch and thinks is exciting, and it's just absolutely incredible. And I see all the potential in the world for that. And that the potential comes from me training a lot of young kids. I play on the USA men's team, the national team. We compete in France every year for against the other nations, and I coach the U16 national team. So a lot of these young kids I'll put through the paintball program, and they just become incredible human beings, boys and girls. Like I've put girls through this at 13, 14 years old, and they are just yes sir, no sir, professional, hardworking, willing to take pain and still keep going, willing to get shot by a paintball and still keep fighting and be better and better. So I believe the sport has all the potential in the world, and the sport has motivated me to be one of the best marketers in the world so I can come back and fix that sport. So for me, it all goes hand in hand, right? If I stop doing paintball, I have less motivation for marketing. If I stop doing marketing, I'd have less motivation for paintball. It is, for me, just one life.
Got it. Nice. So let's talk about what's happening in today's market. We're going to be like certain trends. What trends are working? I know you mentioned AI a little earlier. One of those will be, how is AI working for you or against you? And then maybe, we could even touch on this on again, off again war thing. What kind of pivots do you think you might have to make to try to hit the goals that you have?
Can't speak much on the war. I don't watch any news or pay attention to any politics.
Good for you.
Yeah, I try, but with two kids plus trying to grow this business, I don't have enough time. And it just makes me a little bit happier. But talk about the AI thing. So AI, in my opinion, is 2026 computer, right? When the computer came out in 1980s, 1990s, everyone saw it as a tool that, some people will use, but it won't really be a big thing. It's the same concept happened when the smartphone came out, like, oh, that's cool, but not everyone's going to have one. I believe AI is that next evolution, meaning that it is going to be a normal part of our daily processes. If you are a business owner or you are an individual consumer, it does not matter. Your phone, your activities will have supportive AI in everything that you do. We've been using it for years. I mean, we've had Siri on our phone for years. I mean, that's a normal AI that everyone felt super comfortable with just because we called it Siri and it was on Apple phones. It was an AI. It's a bad AI. It's not a very good one, but it's an AI. So what does it mean for AI to be a natural tool in the human and for the humans on a regular basis? Well, for everyday users, it means that they have a more defined ability to articulate their problems, their unique problems as an individual instead of broad problems, and get very unique answers for them, right? It also allows for a very, very transparent, open world of education and knowledge, right? So back in the day, they talk about snake oil salesmen, right? So you could walk and knock a door and give someone an amazing marketing pitch and sell them on X, Y, and Z concept. And if you were good enough, they would buy. Well, in the near future, you're going to walk up to the door and someone's going to have either the AI running or an AI device on. And as you're talking, they'll be able to pull out their phone and say, that was a lie. That wasn't real. Right? I have infinite information now that can scan what you're telling me in real time and give me actual answers. Lying and BSing people becomes out the window, right? Because I have infinite knowledge. I don't have to go and look at Google and then search through a bunch of threads. I get an automatic response right away on a synopsis of what's actually happening across the internet. So for everyday users, transparency and trust has to come in communication. And then the biggest concern for them will be privacy, right? How do I stay private in my information? How do I hold my data close to my chest? But how do I allow my data and my information to do what I want to do in daily activities? So that's one. So now let's move on to business owners. I've been speaking for the last 10 years to every business owner that would listen to me that there is a tech stack that you need to own. You do not let any agency touch this. You do not let anybody else in the world. It is a part of your LLC. It is a part of your business identity. It is a part of who you are. And these core components were ownership of your website, ownership of your URL, ownership of your tracking mechanisms, like your Google Pix or your Google tracking, Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics, Meta API tracking, all of those you should own. Your Facebook page, your Instagram page, your TikTok page, all your social profiles, your Google My Business profile, your Yelp profile. You need to own these things. This is a part of the foundation of your business. It'd be the same thing as if you started a restaurant, right? And you were leasing, somebody else leased the property, and then you came to them to start the restaurant on top of that lease. That you didn't lease it yourself, or you didn't buy the property yourself. You were setting yourself up for failure, because at any point someone could pull that lease and you lose your business. Just like at any point someone could pull your Google Analytics and pull your ad tracking away from you, and you lose 97% of the consumer data that you are engaging with your ad dollars. You lose all of it. So with that being said, where does AI come to play in this? AI will be a part of that tech stack. What we hope to do in the near future here at Kaizen is to actually set up Claude Code for each individual client that comes into our business. So as we come in and we make sure your Facebook Business Manager is set up with your Facebook page and your Instagram page, and we make sure you have your own Meta ad account that has your payment method and your ownership, and you have your tracking. You'll do the same thing on Google. You have Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, Google Ads, all connected, all owned by you. All of those, including your website, including your CRM, including any Google Drive or any storage systems that you have online, should all be centrally connected into a Claude or into an LLM. Maybe there's a new LLM that comes out after this, right? But you should have ownership of that asset. That asset's going to store all your data. And in the near future, I truly believe that each business owner will have a Claude or an app on their phone where they click it and they speak to it and said, give me a synopsis over the last 7 days, tell me total revenue, and then give me a total profit analysis. Let me know what's working. Tell me which employee right now is one that I have to have a conversation with that we might have to fire. And it will pull it up for you. Wow. And it will have your internal payment processing system. It'll have all of your employee information. It'll have all of your outbound advertising efforts. It'll have all of your internal marketing efforts for email, SMS, and everything else. This already exists. We're building it today. It's not crazy rocket science. We have Claudes right now that are directly integrated into websites, Stripe accounts, into Klaviyo, into Google Ads, into Meta Ads. It cannot execute the way people are talking, right? This whole agentic system that they want to put into place, it is real. It does exist. It can send you basic level emails. It can send push notifications and stuff like that. But if I walk into Claude today without building the right skills and structure on the back end and say, hey, here's a piece of creative piece and here's the copy, please launch me a meta ad campaign for this. It does a horrible job because it doesn't understand what us media buyers have done for the last 15 years to get these systems to do what we want them to do. That can be trained. They're all there. It's all going to get there. Right? Knowledge is not finite, and anything that I know, there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of people out there that know the same thing. It eventually gets shared into the LLMs. The LLMs then learn, they execute, and they understand what to do better. It is going to be your best employee. It's going to be the frontline infrastructure that connects everything to your business, and it's going to be your personal assistant that works for you 24/7. And I believe that's a positive and the growth and what's going to happen there. On the other side of that, of like what I'm dealing with in the negative side, development of assets and revenue generation are not the same thing. So when you go build a website, right, and you go use Lovable and create a website and you put it out there and you built that asset, it does not immediately generate you revenue. If I go build you a piece of creative and I post it on social media, it does not immediately generate you revenue. Right? There is systems and operations around revenue generation. And then even deeper, there's deeper systems behind that for profit generations on the back end of that revenue. So what I'm dealing with that's really bad right now are all these kids that are coming into the market, or some of them are full grown adults, and they'll go and they'll build a Lovable website and they'll sell it to somebody for $500, and everyone's so stoked because they've just replaced their website for $500. And then next thing you know, their traffic plummets and nobody comes to their website. Well, why? The kid didn't understand SEO. He didn't match the URL slugs. He didn't backlink correctly. All the backlinks you've been paying for your website for the last 10 years got lost, gone forever, because they just changed the URL slug they were driving traffic to. They don't have the meta tags and alt tags set up correctly. It's the same thing as when you're building out a piece of creative, right? You can build a piece of creative with ChatGPT in 5 seconds. Boom, it's done. You have the piece of creative. How do you actually get that piece of creative to generate you revenue is a whole different story. So we're getting this mass influx of, we have two different types of businesses coming to us right now. We have the one business that's coming from legacy agencies that are not evolving fast enough, right? These old agencies are still owning your data, owning your ad accounts, not giving you any transparency, tracking off clicks and comments and BS and vanity numbers. We're getting a lot of those that are coming in that are smarting up because of AI, because they're using AI to say, how should I be advertising my business? And it's like, well, my agency doesn't do any of this. They're getting more intelligent around what it really takes. And then we're getting that group. The other group is we're getting the people that are saying, hey, I just got this $500 website. I just had this kid build this for me. I just had this awesome new app created. I had this or I had that, but I'm not making any money and I don't know why. So that's the other side of it. There is business etiquette that needs to be put into place with AI support. AI is a tool that we should all be using. It's an awesome tool. Just like, you'd be mind blown if someone told you right now they don't have a computer, right? In 5 years, you'll be mind blown if someone says they're not using AI. It's a progress of technology that we're going through. So for me, I'm super excited. I wouldn't say we're on the cutting edge, but we are very close to it when it comes to AI implementation into businesses. What AI can actually do to increase revenue and decrease COGS. Two biggest things: reduce my costs, increase my overall revenue, give me higher profit margin at a bigger scale. That's what business owners want, right? How the tools actually implement to do those things is what we're trying to work on now. And then with that, ensuring that every business gets ownership of these things, that every business can compound on this data, and that it's user-friendly, right? AI is great, really user-friendly right now, but even if you don't prompt correctly, if you don't build your skills correctly, if you don't set up the system correctly, you will put in a half-developed prompt and get out a half-developed answer. And that's not what we want. We want someone to come in and say, I have an event next week and I need to promote it. And that's all they have to say. And our systems know exactly how to execute. The creative that needs to be developed, the video that needs to be created, the copy that needs to be developed, how to implement it in social, organically, as well as paid ads, how to set up it as an event on your GMB, how to get it out to your email subscribers, and be able to put together a holistic marketing approach from a simple message as, I need to promote this event next week.
That's awesome. Now, I have a question about expectations, because I feel like that would relate to that.
Computers are very, very smart and people tend to not be, right? But it's the same. This is what I try to explain even to my wife the other day, is that everything that AI is doing, people were doing that. It can't do anything a human being couldn't. Just because you can code an app now because you have Lovable or Base 44 and you can talk to it in code, didn't mean that you couldn't code an app 3 months ago. You just needed to hire someone that knew Python, and you didn't want to take the time to learn Python, right? So there is, I think, expectations of what AI should be is going to be very dependent on who is prompting the system in the first place, right? So like for me, when I don't get the type of answer that I want, or if I get a very generic answer from AI, I don't get mad at AI. I get mad at my prompt. Okay. You know what I mean? I get mad at what I asked AI, because you're talking to a system that has infinite knowledge of the internet. And it gave me a very generic answer. I must have asked a very generic question, right? So people, I think, are misusing the way to leverage AI correctly to get the best results of it. There is a level of expectation that I have of the robotics industry with AI that scares me a little bit, right? How those two come together. If anybody follows Elon Musk, you probably know that he's already discontinued 2 of his vehicles, that Model S and the Model Y, so that he can build his 90,000 square foot Axon, I believe it's the Axon facility, to create his Alpha 1 robot or whatever it is. That's a big deal. That right there is where my expectations, I started going through it and I go, well, what can I expect that robot to do? It can build a house. It can mow my lawn. It can do my plumbing. It basically do anything besides electrical, right? Because it'd probably fry itself if he does that. But anything else, I mean, I said for a long time that service-based businesses will be okay for a while, until I started studying what Elon was doing with robots. And then I was like, well, we're all in a really tough spot. If you're not, there's an interview from Elon Musk from 4 years ago where he gets really weird in the interview. I think it's 3 or 4 years ago. It's really weird in the interview, and he just says, integrate or die, integrate or die, integrate, like multiple times, right? And he's talking about integration of AI, and that is going to be the separation in my opinion, of where humans are. Because yes, there's going to be people that be able to put in a simple prompt and get simple answers back out, but there's also people that are going to be able to fully use this system. And now the people in the past, if you think about it, if I had a business where I was building a company, I was the dreamer. I had to hire someone that could be this crazy developer to bring my dream to life. But now I don't need the developer anymore. AI can develop all the content. It can code for me. So if that's the case, I need that position in my business to slow me down anymore. I can dream and implement, dream and implement, dream and implement. So the dreamers just got a 10x opportunity on where to grow. And the people that are looking for dreams are not educating themselves personally so that their mind is really running with new concepts and ideas. Those are the people that are going to keep on asking ChatGPT, how do I grow my $4 million business? I don't ask ChatGPT that. I go clear to, this is my current problem in my business that I know will get me, if I fix this, to 4 million, help me fix this problem. And it's a vastly different response.
You get a little bit more granular and it could fix those specific problems. That's awesome.
Yep, exactly.
So here's a question that you could turn it into a 2-part or keep it a 1-part. But if a future leader was listening to our podcast, one maybe is, what kind of message do you want to send to them to help them along? Or it could be the same thing as if anybody was listening in this podcast and there's one thing that they remember or they get from this and you want to make sure you drill it into their head, don't forget this. You need to know this. If there's one thing you remember is this, what would it be?
Read books. I am on Claude for 2 to 3 hours a day. Every single day. Not just Claude Code, Claude Cowork. I go between Perplexity, Claude, ChatGPT. I have not learned anything of significant value that will change my life. But I can show you 4 books behind me that changed my life completely. That absolutely changed the way I thought, the way the world works, what success is, how to find success, how to position myself. We need to remember that AI is just the conglomeration of the internet. And the internet is based off of the learnings and teachings of the people of the past. That is it. There is a massive discrepancy between the human beings that have lived and the human beings that have succeeded above and beyond in their lives. You need to understand the why and the core of those people. You need to actually read structural information of the psychology of human beings, the psychology of who you are, and learn about yourself more. Right? These systems will not create solutions that you don't understand the true problem. You have to be able to truly articulate the issue that you're dealing with to be able to confront it and fix it. And to understand that, you first understand yourself, and then you have to understand I always say that success is found in conscientiousness. And conscientiousness is broken down into 4 subfacets, which is diligence, organization, perfectionism, and prudence, right? Work hard, stay organized, double check your work. But prudence is defined as the ability to make the right decision. And the only way to truly understand how to make the right decision is, you have 2 paths. You have the path of fire or the path of knowledge. The path of fire is you go and burn yourself and say, damn, that hurt. I won't do it again that way. I'll change the way. That's the trial and error process. That takes a long time. The other path of knowledge is understanding how other people burnt themselves, educating yourself on that, and getting an upper foot in whatever you're doing. If this is health, if this is sports, if this is business, if this is medicine, whatever it might be, read. There is such a lackluster of and the intent behind reading and the value behind reading. It's kind of boggling, because every person that I talk to that's super successful, yes, they're using AI, but they're reading every single day.
Do you by chance have the books you were talking about off mind?
Let's start off with, if you're in marketing and advertising and anything, .com Secrets by Russell Brunson. This is the guy that actually coined the concept of a funnel. So everyone that talks about funnels, I need a funnel. Russell Brunson made that word. This book right here, I make every one of my employees read through it. I have sticky notes and I have highlights and I have so much in this book. This one is a really good one if you're just getting into marketing. If you're going to the next step and say you have a marketing agency and you have a business, it doesn't have to be a marketing agency. If you have a general business, all of the EOS books, like What the Heck is EOS or Traction, all of those are incredible for operations. This one, Get Scalable by Ryan Diaz, is a book that takes the marketing world, marketing and advertising world, and puts a direct example of how to implement EOS, which EOS stands for the Entrepreneur Operating System, EOS into your business. Very, very powerful. Then we have, I'm a huge fan of Malcolm Gladwell, so I have a few different his books. I have Blink, I have Outliers, I have The Tipping Point, which is a really, really good one. All of those are psychology books that will help you understand yourself a little bit better and understand people around you. One that I listen to on a regular basis is the 48 Laws of Power. As I get older, and I've read that and I've listened to that over and over, different parts resonate with me. Yes, there's some weird factors of that book, but it truly understands, it breaks down human psychology. And then one that I read 3 times before I understood it, and it really helped me find my own personal happiness in life, is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Incredible book. Again, a little bit of an odd read. If you're reading through it and you're not resonating with it, put it down, read it again in a year or 6 months from now. That book there really will put your mindset in a different position of what it means to really be in the moment and what the moment can really entail if you're truly here in the now.
Very nice. Any other maybe advice for someone starting out a business that's thinking about taking the plunge?
Yeah, in today's day and age, the number thing I think any entrepreneur that's just starting that can make them extremely successful is utter confidence in yourself. You have a massive failure rate. There's again, 82% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. You are statistically proven to fail. Okay. With that being said, give it your damn best, right? Make sure like you're not hiding yourself. Post on social media, highlight what you're doing every single day, scream it to the heavens, tell your friends and family, tell everybody. Don't hold it back. You will 100% fail if you hold it back. I can tell you that. But if you are proud of yourself and proud of what you're doing and you act in that way and shout your business to the heavens, it will give you the best opportunity from success. And that really starts, I believe, in a verbal sense of, telling your friends and family, telling your neighbors, knocking on your neighbor's door and just let them know. I mean, if you're starting a whatever business, it doesn't matter. You knock over, hey neighbor, how you doing? Hey, just want to let you know, I just started this company. Super proud of it, super excited for it. If I can help you at all, awesome. If not, hope you have a great day. And you walk away. And then translate that same process into organic social media. It is free, guys. There is billions of people on these platforms. TikTok wants you to post 4 times a day, right? Instagram is once per day. Facebook, it's once every other day. That's the ideal posting volume on these platforms. Alex Hermosi is posting roughly around 1,700 posts a day. And this is one of the biggest names in marketing, in business operations, in growth. Post on social media. Don't be ashamed if it doesn't look perfect. Don't be ashamed if you stutter. Don't just be happy to get your name and your idea out into the world. Otherwise, it will flicker out and die. You got to be proud. You got to be loud about it.
Excellent, excellent. And the goal on this podcast is maybe someone listening just might end up with a mentor out of it. You know what I mean? And I think the more you can follow the footsteps of people that have already been through this, could just propel you much quicker into the goal that you're trying to achieve. So hopefully people get a chance to listen and find someone to follow. And I think that's awesome. And if you want to follow Kyle, or if you want to reach out to him for his business, again, it's Kaizen Marketing Agency. You're in Georgia. Where at again?
Yep. Yeah. I'm in Georgia. And the best place to follow us is on Instagram. If you want to follow me personally, it is just Kyle Berry _PB for PayPal. And then if you want to follow Kaizen Marketing specifically, we do have our own podcast called The Art of Kaizen, which is a marketing podcast. It's Kaizen Marketing Agency, Kaizen marketing.agency on Instagram. Post some cool stuff there, some case studies and some what we're doing with clients. And if you go to our website and sign up for our email, we give awesome monthly information of what's happening in the industry, how people are winning today, and just hopefully to share the knowledge of growth and be able to help everyone that we possibly can.
Sweet. What's next for you on paintball?
My next event is in Cincinnati. We have a national event in Cincinnati, and then we'll be going over to France for the Nations Cup. So my daughter is 3, and she'll be in France for the 3rd time already. So yeah, that, and then outside of that, it's just coaching and competing. I'm actually going up to New York this weekend, back to my hometown, to be able to train some young kids that are up there that are up and coming. So that's very, very exciting. But yeah, that's usually 5 US events a year, 2 to 3 European events throughout the year, and gives us a good reason to travel and enjoy our time.
Well, Kyle, thank you so much. I'm probably going to reach out to you because I could probably use a little help in some of the things that we're trying to do over here at Revenue Playbook Chronicles. Folks, I thank you for watching us. If you like our content, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And hopefully we'll be able to introduce you to some more good content. And please reach out to Kyle, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you, Gene.